Tonight's tale is the no-sleep story. My girlfriend was diagnosed with early onset dementia. I didn't think it could get this bad. A slow descent into memory loss, identity, and the unsettling moment where the person you love begins to slip further away each day. Tonight's narration is dedicated to the author themselves, Happy Programmer 1177. It's always meaningful to bring a story like this to life, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to share their work with you. Now, lower the lights and step inside Matchbox Creek. It started off small. My girlfriend Steph would forget little details, things we'd brought up in conversations before. She'd repeat her thoughts, or ask me the same questions over and over again. When she started to forget what she was doing or why she was doing something, I convinced her to go to the doctor. She was embarrassed and didn't want to admit it, but even she knew something was wrong. The doctor said it was early onset dementia. I think Steph was scared that I was going to leave her after she was diagnosed. We were still young, and she knew I had a whole life ahead of me. She never said it out loud, but I could see it in her behavior. She might not have remembered her diagnosis, but she could tell that she was losing herself, that something wasn't quite right. She'd spend nights sobbing in my arms, telling me that she felt different, empty. I'll never forget the way she described it. It's like someone else is living my life, and I have no clue what they do. That's when she started pushing people away. Friends, family, pretty much anybody that wasn't me. Instead of going to work, reading, painting, or anything like she had used to. Instead, she'd remain curled up in bed, glued to her phone. For a while, it was fine. She was going through a hard time, and I loved her. I wanted Steph to know that I wasn't going anywhere. After all, she was my girlfriend. When the doctor said there would be personality changes, it was fine. I thought that no matter how she changed, she would still be the Steph I fell in love with, that I would see her true self, even as things got worse. The real problems started a few months ago when I got home from work. I had just started preparing dinner when I got a text from Steph. "Come upstairs." I turned off the stove, realizing that I had not checked on her since I got home. It had been a long day at work and my mind was preoccupied. Drying my hands, I headed up to our bedroom where I could usually find her. "Hey babe, what's up?" I said, but Steph wasn't there. I searched around the room. I checked under the bed, in the closet, and in the bathroom, but she was nowhere to be seen. "Where are you?" I texted back. It showed that she read the message, but she didn't respond. I checked her location on my phone, slightly concerned that she might have left the house. Once she was diagnosed, I made sure that I would be able to see where she was at all times. Steph resisted initially, but deep down, I think she knew it was for her own well-being. I spent the next few minutes searching around upstairs for her, but when I could no longer find her, I returned to the kitchen. Wherever she was, she would come out eventually. I froze. The stovetop was on again. I distinctly remember turning it off. "Steph!" I called out. She must have been here. Who else would turn on the stove? But I heard nothing in response. I pulled my phone out again, zooming in closer on her location. Our icons were nearly overlapping. She couldn't have been more than a few feet away. I called out her name again, but still I heard nothing. That's when I began frantically searching for her. Maybe she left the house and forgot her phone. That would be even worse. She'd have no way of calling for help. If I could just find her phone, maybe then I could track her down from there. I decided to call her, just to see where it was. That's when I heard the familiar tune, coming right from the cabinet, the one right next to our sink. What is she doing leaving it in there? I froze when I swung open the cabinet door. I was expecting to see the phone right there. I thought maybe it would be sitting on the floor, next to the old sponges and cleaning supplies. I was not expecting to see Steph crammed in there, all her limbs at odd angles. Her body was knotted and twisted in ways I'd never seen before. "Hi, James," she breathed out, almost excited that I was able to find her, like it was some sort of game. Her glassy eyes stared past me, something she had been doing more frequently whenever she spoke to me. Her lips were upturned into a subtle smile. I was too baffled to move. Steph would not be able to contort like this. Any grown adult would be far too big to fit into a space like that. Yet, she showed no signs of pain, only enjoyment. I rushed forward, cupping her cheeks in my hands. Her head was bent at an odd angle, and a line of drool ran down her face. I quickly wiped it away. "Steph, what are you doing in there? Let's get you out." I reached for her arm, guiding her out of the cabinet. I tried to hide the fear in my voice. Steph didn't protest as I slowly worked her out of the space, undoing limb after limb. As we made progress, I could hear the cracks in her body from sitting uncomfortably for so long, but Steph didn't show any pain or emotion. This was worse than I thought. I'd have to call Dr. Yoshihara tonight about updating her prescriptions. I didn't say anything about how dangerous Steph was being, how she could hurt herself. I was too terrified to speak. But then Steph broke the silence. "What's for dinner?" Her tone was so casual that it caught me off guard. It was as if nothing abnormal had happened. Maybe she didn't remember. "I was gonna make chicken Alfredo. Why don't you go sit on the couch for a bit? I could light up the fireplace so you're nice and cozy. A change in scenery from the bedroom might be nice." I didn't include that I wanted to keep an eye on her as well. Steph nodded and moved towards the couch. She grabbed a pillow and sat in my spot. It was such a small detail, but it hit me like a truck. Steph's favorite spot on the couch was the rightmost part. She always said that it was more comfortable, that the stuffing of the cushions was softer there. She knew that I had preferred the right-hand side, and they became our assigned sections of the couch. It was the first time I'd seen her sit on my side. I told myself that it didn't matter, but it just felt wrong. Steph loved the other side. "Steph, honey, why don't you sit on the other side of the couch? You always said you preferred it." "I like this side," she responded. Her eyes followed me, but I could see that she was looking past me. I didn't respond. It wasn't until a few weeks later that I was sitting on the porch with Steph reading a book when it happened again. Once Dr. Yoshihara adjusted her medication, I figured things would be better. It was a beautiful sunny day out, and I poured both of us glasses of lemonade to sip on while I read one of her favorite novels to her. About 15 minutes in, Steph abruptly got up and walked into the house without saying a word. I figured she was going to the bathroom, and I decided to stay where I was to soak up a little more sun. About a minute went by before I received a text from her. me with something. I closed my book and immediately went inside. But when I checked the bathroom, it was empty. Where are you? I texted back. Come find me. My mind flashed to the incident a few weeks ago. I thought of her knotted up body inside of the cabinet. No, Dr. Yoshihara updated her dosage. There's no way it could happen twice, right? But my gut told me otherwise. I began searching through every hiding spot I could imagine. I was beginning to give up. I had searched the entire house. Closets, cabinets, even under the bed. I was rooting through the linen closet when I heard a giggle come from downstairs. It was soft. It sounded like Steph's old laugh. A door slammed shut. I whipped my head around and raced downstairs. My heart thumped as I once again thought of her crammed into the cabinet. This game was too dangerous to keep playing. It was only when I entered the kitchen that I saw it. The oven. The oven was on. My breath hitched in my throat as I made a beeline towards it. I knew I was going fast, but it felt as if time had warped every moment so that seconds felt like minutes. Please, please don't let Steph be in there. My slick hand reached for the oven door, and as I yanked it open, a warm blast of air met my face. And there she was, limbs tangled over each other to fit inside the oven. I let out a yelp. There was no way she was able to do this alone. Steph's empty gaze once again met mine. A small smile on her face. She showed no signs of discomfort from the heat or her condition. Her voice held a surprising amount of clarity for someone who was in a space they shouldn't have been able to fit in. You found me. Steph, what the hell are you doing in there? I reached out to turn the oven off before returning attention back to my girlfriend. Her eyes, once so beautiful to me, now looked so empty. One of her legs wrapped around the base of her neck as her toes jutted out at strange angles. Her arms disappeared between the mess of legs and torso her body had become. She was completely folded over, twice. Even a contortionist of Steph's size shouldn't have been able to fit in there. How on earth did she even do it? I tried to undo her tangled limbs, but there wasn't enough room. I would have to pull her out of the oven first. Oh God, I couldn't do that. I thought of her skin scraping against the metal rack. It was going to hurt. I didn't sign up to get my girlfriend out of a hot oven. The Steph I knew a year ago would never have done this. Who has she become? But there was no time to hesitate. I slowly pulled her out, making sure that I was handling her gently. But the same smile remained, plastered on her face, with cracking joints that sent my heart racing. She began undoing the knots she had folded herself into. As I pulled her out, I wanted to vomit. That night, I called Dr. Yoshihara and described the incident in detail. I hated that I was talking to Steph's doctor behind her back. But this wasn't normal. It was dangerous and fucking terrifying. But deep down, it wasn't just about Steph. I needed someone else to hear this madness. I can tell this is taking a huge toll on you, James, Dr. Yoshihara said. I just don't know what to do. I don't want Steph to hurt herself, but I can't watch over her every second. Maybe it's time to consider some external support. Just from you describing these incidents makes me think that her mental capabilities have declined significantly. It may be outside of your capabilities to continue caring for her. Her offer sounded tempting. I love Steph, but it was exhausting. Having to re-explain stuff to her constantly, to watch her every move, and to remind her what she liked and didn't like. I didn't want to remind her of who she was anymore, but she was dead. Long gone. Once she had been diagnosed, Steph made me promise to her that she wouldn't end up in the hands of strangers or in a home. She read online about how they could abuse their patients. It scared her. I owed it to Steph to respect her wishes for as long as I possibly could. It's what the old Steph would have wanted. I'm sorry, Doc. But I promised her. I understand. You're a good boyfriend for respecting her wishes. But if it does get out of hand, there are resources available. Bring her into the office, and we'll run a few more tests. But I can't say that this much can be done without professionals. Over the next few months, I began to keep a closer eye on Steph. Her disappearances had become more frequent. Whenever she could, Steph would slip out of my sight and send me a message prompting me to find her. She preferred small spaces, the smaller the better. I'd catch her trying to climb into the vents, sinks, even the laundry machine one time. Each find was more terrifying than the last, not because of where she was hiding, but because of what could have happened. Her luck would run out eventually, and one wrong move would leave her dead. Maybe she cut herself or break a rib by hiding in a place too small and puncture a lung. I didn't know what was coming, but I knew it was getting out of control. It felt like I was betraying her when I finally decided to reach out to assisted living facilities. But I'd done everything in my power to keep her safe, and I just couldn't take it anymore. I was exhausted. I knew I would be giving up a portion of my life to take care of Steph when she was diagnosed, but it was taking a huge toll on me. I was fired when I could no longer go to the office to work. I never called my parents, and I declined invitations to go out with friends. I couldn't sleep without waking to see if Steph was still beside me. Every moment of my life revolved around making sure that Steph wouldn't hurt herself, ultimately distancing me from the people I needed the most. It was a humid summer day when Steph went missing. I had spent all day looking at different facilities, trying to find the perfect place for her. One place in particular piqued my interest. It was close to here. The building looked clean and well maintained, and there were professionals on standby 24/7. I'd given them a call during the day, but they hadn't picked up. That night, Steph and I ate dinner in silence. She would barely eat. I'd made chicken Alfredo again, hoping it would spark her appetite. But I didn't think she liked it anymore. I watched as she took slow bites, a vacant expression on her face as I chewed. Steph used to devour this dish when we first started dating. She always said that it tasted better than any restaurant, and I responded that it was because it was made with extra love. I was just about to ask her how the food was when my phone rang. It was the facility I'd called earlier. I excused myself from the table and stepped out onto the patio, making sure that I could still see her. I explained the situation to them and inquired about the pricing. I swear I didn't look away for more than a second, but when I looked up again, Steph was no longer sitting at the dining table. Terrified, I hung up quickly, saying I'd call them back as soon as I dealt with an urgent matter. My phone dinged. "Come find me." I scoured the entire house multiple times. Calls and texts stopped going through, and I could no longer see her location on my phone. After I spent hours looking through every crack and crevice in the building, I finally decided to call the police. They checked every inch of the house from top to bottom. They searched all of the spots she used to visit before she was diagnosed with dementia. even her childhood home. But nobody was able to find her. Friends and family joined in on the search, just as distraught as I was. I never had the heart to tell anybody outside of the police about the places she'd been hiding before she went missing. I knew it was an important detail, but I wanted her to be remembered as the beautiful Steph that I had fallen in love with, not an empty shell that liked to twist her way into dangerous places. It's been around 2 weeks since Steph went missing, and a weird stench has begun to permeate through the house, like rotten meat. Ever since the smell got worse, I haven't been able to bring myself to find her. I knew she was here, inside the house, because Steph refused to leave as her condition worsened. I knew she was in the living room, because that's where it smelled the worst. And now, I know she's in the chimney, because that's where the maggots keep coming from. Nobody ever checked the chimney, but I'm scared to. Too scared to see the infested remains of the person I once loved more than anything in the world. I'm too scared to think about what was going through her mind as she decided to stay there until her last breath. And I'm even more scared now, after receiving a text from her. "Hello, James. Come find me. Come find me. Come find me." I'm starting to think it's something worse than dementia.